We have a new sponsor of ROAS. You Are Not Your ROAS is happy to welcome our primary sponsor, retention.com. If you love money, you're going to love retention.com. You'll hear more about them later in a bit. Until then, enjoy this episode of You're Not Your ROAS exclusively on the Triple Whale Network.
I think there's 20,000 different types of business owners, and you have to be able to know how to handle all of them. And that's the hardest thing. That took me a long time to figure out. My wife is agency side as well. She's with a big agency in New York, very traditional agency. Like they have like New York University as their client, like big, like huge, like insane. Like I was like, I don't even want to you do that. I don't want to touch that. Like that seems stressful to me. And she's client side as well. So like, but that's the thing. It's like you have to really understand business owners where they're at.
All right, folks, welcome back to another episode, an in-person episode of You Are Not Your ROAS. I have the legend, the man, the myth, Wyatt Lowe. Wyatt, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Good to be back in Austin.
Yeah, I know. Well, because we're connected in
New York,
right?
Yeah, I was at the Shopify event.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Shout out, Snow Brothers. Let's
Yeah,
go.
that was awesome, man.
Nice little exit as well.
It was,
stuff
yeah.
there.
That was shortly thereafter.
As always, Juvie powered. So, man, tell me how you got into marketing. Let's start kind of where was like the first dip into entrepreneurship marketing? Give people some kind of background. Let's paint a picture of Wyatt.
Yeah, so those who know me outside of the job know that I'm also a musician. So
I did not know this. What do you play?
You did not know? Oh, I'm a guitar player. Yeah.
Oh, Axe Man.
Yeah. So
Let's
I have my
go.
own group. Before COVID, man, we were touring pretty heavily. We were
I didn't know any of this. What
Yeah.
was the band name?
Wyatt Lowe and the Mayhem Kings. Yeah.
That's actually
So-
pretty amazing.
Yeah, man. It's like we're a rock and roll band. We're like rockabilly, blues. So like that's why like
I love
Continental Club places in Austin.
Everything is kind of
yeah,
fitting
yeah.
in.
So that's like I'm like Bruce Wayne during the day and then
Yeah.
Batman at night
Yeah.
type thing. And years ago, I grew up in Southern California, moved to the mountains, and I was a musician trying to make a way,
Yeah.
and skiing, writing music, and I just became.
Oh, you write as well.
I do, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I write my own music.
There's that, I can't remember like a Beatles line or somebody, but everybody joked about like, if you can find a singer-songwriter, whatever they do, put up with it because it's pretty rare,
Yeah,
right?
no,
Like
it
most
is. I
people
mean-
don't write and play for themselves.
No, I mean, like I feel like in certain niches and certain genres, yes, but like globally and like what's most commonly known, no. I mean, where I went, I got my college degree in music entertainment marketing.
Yep.
And you realize most big artists today have 7 to 10 songwriters that work on their
100%.
yeah.
It's crazy, right?
And again, the lyricism is actually really simple, which is
Yep.
the irony. So anyway, I mean, it's always been important to me. My mom was a musician. My family, I have like a lineage of musicians in my family. And that's where it began. Like I started designing websites for myself.
Yeah.
I started to run my own social ads. Just like started making content, started doing editing. I learned Final Cut 8 at the time, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
Final Cut 8
Yeah.
or Final Cut 9 or whatever. And started doing like branding. And because I very much at an early age, like, I was like a teenager at the time. And I was like, I really know that I want to make this a brand more than I wanted to make it a band that also has like merch or a band that also has like
it's a
cool
really
music.
interesting distinction.
For me, it was like, I want people to be able to buy the brand and then think, oh, they also make really cool music.
Yeah.
Like, because I feel like if you can play both angles, you have a lot of leg up than other people do.
Who did that well? I'd probably say like Beastie Boys was up there.
Beastie
where like,
Boys,
you fuck with
yep.
the Beastie Boys, whether you listen to their music
Totally.
or not. You're
Beastie
like, their
Boys,
vibes.
The band I'm wearing today, Ghost.
Yeah.
The metal band from Sweden. Like, I buy their stuff. I love the band, but like I buy their stuff and I love their story because it's kind of like, it's like fun.
Yeah.
It's kind of all over the place. Like the Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Tom Petty was great.
Yeah, dude, I got to see Petty live.
You did?
Before he came out with like a whole bunch of his new stuff.
Yeah.
And it was one of those like surreal experiences. One, it was in this like crazy amphitheater and everybody, I mean, it's Petty concerts, so
Yeah.
everybody's burning.
Yeah.
And like you could go to the top and see almost this like
Layer of
cloud
smoke. That's
just
hilarious.
sitting over the crowd.
I love that. Yeah.
Banger after banger
Yeah.
after banger. And this dude was 100. I mean, he was literally, I think, like 60 or 70 at the time I saw him. I saw
Yeah.
him maybe 10 or 15 years ago. And you forget sometimes, like, how many, like, hits, like, oh, that's Petty.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Petty.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
He'd
Petty.
pull out from the catalog, and there's just
jam after jam.
on the band. I think that's what made that's what was so strong about him is obviously Tom Petty's a goat. Like he, but the band was so good.
So good.
And his band was like I mean, everyone was firing on all cylinders every show. My uncle was it's like my half uncle really. He in the 70s was on the road crew. he came back from the war and like, was like, I think the doctor said like, you need to do something with your time, and he became in San Diego, he became a roadie for the bands that would come through. And then he'd like stay on with them and go to their tour.
Yeah.
So I used to have, and I think my mom years ago made it into like one of those t-shirt blankets. And it has all like, so it's like Tom Petty, it was the Heart of Wings or like something, whatever that album was. It was like the Heart of Wings tour. And then I had a Kiss shirt.
There you go. Another brand.
Exactly.
A band that transcended, brand transcended the band.
Totally.
Almost,
yeah. And that's the visual side of it. And like, so I have all those old shirts of his that were like his like local road crew shirts and stuff. But yeah, that's like for me, like that's what I was trying to do. And then at the time, I was living in Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I loved it. Skiing every day. I was like living like, the ski bum life, loving it. And playing music and working. And I started, there's a guitar shop there. There's a lot of cool brands based out of Jackson. There's a really great clothing brand called Stio. And they're based out of Jackson. I, at the time, started like kind of helping them run some of their socials. And there was another company there called Teton Gravity Research, which did a lot of the ski movies and stuff. So like various little projects I would do in town, whether it was branding, social, ads directly, or whether it was just like kind of helping build websites. Then from there, I mean, like I moved to Denver, and then I lived up in the mountains of Colorado for a while. Worked for.
I didn't realize you're such a mountain man.
I am, man.
I'm the same.
Yeah, that's for me. It's like, well, because I grew up in North County, San Diego, so like I grew up on the beach, and like everyone always asks, like, why'd you leave? It's like, well, you grow up in a place, you kind of want to leave. I wanted to explore the world a little bit. My family moved, and I was like, finish high school and go to college remote, and so
it's a weird concept, but you become numb to paradise.
You do.
Like no matter how beautiful or how awesome it is, like there's a certain aspect of exposure erodes like your awesomeness. Like I had tons of friends that lived in San Diego, and I was like, how many times did you go to the beach? They're like, dude, I went to the beach like twice in like the first couple months I've been there. Yeah. I haven't been to the beach since, man.
Well, that's like, I think that's totally right. I think people would always be like, how could you do that? And like my wife, she's from like a really small town in Missouri.
Yep.
So she's all kind of has the same thing. It's like, what? Like, and like for me, it's like, don't get me wrong, like we just went back, we took spring break with the family, and like we went back and had a great time there. But like there definitely is like that, like if you stay there too long, I don't want to be stuck. I don't want to become that person that was going to be like whether it's like a small town in the Midwest or whether it's freaking Los Angeles, like you don't want to get stuck where you are. And because of that, at the time, the band started touring a lot, we were playing a lot, we were like, I got to see big parts of the world. It was really cool. And so. But then I started working, really starting like, so people were like, hey, I really could use you. Like I need a digital person that can come in. There was a recording studio in Colorado that I started working at and really just basically helped build the brand, helped build the website. We started running ads. We started doing acquisition strategies for customers to come to the studio. Did that with a hotel and a chain of hotels as well, through their marketing departments. And then from there went agency side, was there for a little while, moved to now where I'm at in Salt Lake City, Utah, was doing freelance. And then I signed to do, I was the head of growth at a friend of mine's company. It was a B2B company. It was for like, so like, Los Angeles, the US Bank building, like, so like it's the big tall one.
Yes.
That's like sign on the side is what we did. So it was like $200,000, $300,000 contracts. Like,
oh, wow.
Huge. Yeah. Big deal. And so like, that was like the longest, like, you talk about like, length to buy, length to contract, like that was the longest. That was like 6 to 9 month sale process, and so we built the digital side of that. Another company where it was all brand called Venus Sign Co. and Shane, who's the owner, he was a great artist and he was like, he had this proprietary sign technology, like with like this translucent neon, crazy stuff that I was way over my head. And then I started doing freelance in Salt Lake City, got a call from another agency. We worked with some bigger clients, some like Skull Candy's based in Salt Lake, so that was really cool. And then I landed for the last couple of years with an agency in America, based out of actually Alaska, that I was running
Anchorage? Or
Homer, Alaska.
I didn't even know there was other cities in Alaska.
I know. Well, it's not a city. It's a tiny little town. Yeah, but no, it was an agency called Shopanova, and I was there for the last few years. Yeah. So I was the head of strategy there, and basically built that, the paid media team there, the media buying team, and ran that, and then just a transition occurred where I was just, to be honest, kind of done with agency space. I was like,
agency life's hard.
It's stressful.
Good money, but really hard.
It is, and it's really, there's a lot of growth, I think all the agencies kind of boomed, right after 2020. All of us did really well, and I had a lot of advice from dear friends like Shaq, and it was like, he kind of had some words of wisdom. I was like, I think it's the time for something new. And since for the last 7 months, I've been brand side again with MaryRuth Organics, which has been a lot of fun.
Big numbers too, man.
Huge
numbers.
It's the most I've ever.
Yeah, that's a big jump.
It
was
not
a big jump, but that's not nothing.
No,
you
it
guys
wasn't.
are doing proper
for
numbers.
sure. And I think that's the thing. It was like, for me, I was like, okay, I know there's really something for the next step. Like this, actually, for me, I was like, okay, I would love to get my hands back in the baking a little bit.
Yeah.
I want to get it, and really pull the triggers to show, could I do this again? Because we had clients. I mean, we broke records. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time at this point, and I still learn things every day. But I was like, can I do it? Can we do it again? And we did. We came in, and David, the CEO, president of MaryRuth's, MaryRuth husband, and he and I have known each other for a few years. And
for people that don't know, what do you guys do?
So MaryRuth's vegan vitamin supplements. You've probably seen MaryRuth as a figure. She's a wonderful lady, and she's a mom of 4, and she's started this brand. I don't know exactly. It was 2015, 2016 time frame, maybe even a little before that. And she's a former health coach, nutritionist, very personal chef, very established background in health and wellness.
Yep.
And started off with a couple products. The brand grew. We now have 200 products. We service.
Wow, I didn't know you guys had that many SKUs.
Yeah, we have so many. Yeah, and it's not stopping. There's 5 new products a month.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so the cool thing about the brand too is everyone always asks us what's your target demo, and we have our top 2. But we also, the great thing here is anyone can take the vitamins. It's literally designed for every life stage. If MaryRuth and her family can't take it, then they're not going to make anything or sell anything. So it's from Todd, I have a 5-year-old and I have a 1.5-year-old. They both take MaryRuth vitamins, Yeah. And then my wife, my parents take it. They're in their 60s. It's they're feeling great. So it's that's what's really awesome about it. And I was telling Alexa, actually, I was saying, it's funny because most people who know health and wellness and vitamins, 70% of all vitamin business is in person. It's retail,
Yep.
But we have friends, the guys like True Classic, Cuts, those guys, everyone's you guys, what are you guys doing in your D2C? It's so strong.
Yeah.
And our D2C, ironically, is so strong for health and wellness, vitamins.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was really enticing. And I was this is this is great, because, agency side, anyone listening, you guys, it's you're trying to get a client to spend $1,000 a day. They're it's like pulling teeth sometimes,
100%.
And here it's, we went from, I think in January, we broke close to 180,000 a day on Facebook ads.
Dude, when you were telling me those numbers, it was just blown away.
Yeah. And then I think the ceiling we reached on TikTok was about 80,000 a day on TikTok.
That's the most I've ever heard on TikTok in a day.
Yeah. That was a big feat for me. That was for me and our team at the time. And at the time, January is historically the big month for new year, new you. Christmas for us is great, but it's slow because people aren't buying vitamins for the holidays.
Yeah, nobody really thinks about health either in December.
Exactly.
It's family, you're eating.
Exactly. Yeah.
Enjoying life.
You're not worried about that. But come the new year, you're okay, now I can get back on the wagon. It's here we go. So January was a huge month for us. We broke all company records. We decided in December we're gonna basically deconstruct and tear down the entire social strategy and rebuild it.
Okay.
Because it was kind of at the time non-existent. It was that was the weakest part of the media mix, and so that was my strongest suit. Let's just start there, and that's where we started breaking those numbers, and we just had obscene growth. We had a $30 million month in January, and that was
bananas. That's what most people do in a year, dude.
I think our budget was 17. So our board was very happy.
I can imagine.
Gary V's on our board as well.
That's good.
Yeah. So, and Gary was I remember my boss, who's VP of Ecom, he told me, he said in the board meeting, he said, because obviously, Gary's a content king, he makes content like crazy.
He gets it.
But our content strategy was kind of weak. And so it's he just was the board was you guys need to be pumping out more content.
Yeah.
And so that was the goal. And I think we did 196 unique creatives or 169 unique creatives in January. And it's nuts, man. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but it's also there's breakthroughs that I've had since starting there.
Yeah.
Things that I thought, stigmas I thought about, high spends or things like that. I've historically only spend much 20, 25K a day, so yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And there's a lot going on. We have a lot going on.
That's such a crazy story, dude. I love that though. And the other thing that's really interesting to me is I think one of the challenges of agency life, I mean, there's a myriad of them, but is that one, the incentives are kind of misaligned, but if you can finally figure out the incentives to align, there's a certain aspect of you have to build your book. And sometimes like you're bringing on people that might not necessarily like have the structure in place to succeed.
Yeah, for
whether
sure.
that be the business economics, whether that be not understanding the brand, whether like these kind of core fundamentals. And that's why I think, because I used to do proper agency life, and then before Triple, used to just run my own boutique agency where I was basically running 4 clients, sitting across them, high retainers, no percent of spend, like basically let me make you a bunch of money.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's just more fun when you help people win more than when you try and turn like a loser into a winner.
Yeah.
It's just so much work to choose. Like,
It really
and
is.
maybe it's different personality types, but for me, I was much more the vein of, let me get you from 1 to N. Like, let me augment what you have and let's blow this thing up, versus like, to your point of getting somebody, like if you're fighting over like $1,000 a day in paid media, dude,
Yeah.
everybody starts somewhere. So it's not like a dog there, but it's just more so like, it's just a grind, man.
It is a grind. And I think too, like there's 20,000 different types of business owners, and you have to be able to know how to handle all of them. And that's the hardest thing. That took me a long time to figure out. My wife is agency side as well. She's with a big agency in New York, very traditional agency. Like they have like New York University as their client, like big, like huge, like insane. Like I was like, I don't even want to like you do that. I don't want to touch that. Like that seems stressful to me. And she's client side as well. So like, but that's the thing. It's like you have to really understand business owners where they're at. And I think you also have to look at it like with I think a lot of people want to think of the macro lens. Like it's like, okay, I want to hit $1 million a year. I want to hit a 7-figure month or whatever. It's like, but what are the pieces that you have to execute on now that you're overlooking, you know? Or how much of what you've done needs to be completely torn down and redone?
100%.
I think that's the big thing that people think. It's like someone told me years ago, and I always said this phrase: "What got you here won't get you there."
100%.
And I think that's where a lot of brands have breakthrough. Is like when they can realize that, and then they kind of, you know, you take a step back and you look at what you're doing, and then you realize, oh wait, maybe we should have a new UI, maybe we should have a better customer acquisition strategy, you know. And it's hard to have those conversations with people, though.
Dude, it's hard to call somebody's baby ugly. Like it
is,
and it's even harder to accept that your baby's ugly.
Yeah.
Like, because your point, like, there's just different kind of step changes, right? Like getting from like 0 to $1 million. It's like, okay, cool. You have like product market fit now. This is there's a business here. Now, 1, how do I grow this business? 2, how do I optimize this business? And then 3, how do I keep the unit economics intact when I'm acquiring people versus when I get money from people?
Yep.
It's a lot more. It's kind of like running. Like running, everybody can kind of do it, but it's really hard to do well, and it's really hard to
sustain it.
Sustain it. Exactly, because people quit, people do all these other things, and so I think you're spot on there, man. And I've also ran into brands that, luckily not my clients, but when I'll consult people or just kind of jam in the industry and stuff, there's these people that become these, and to be fair, I think luxury is the one outlier here that I'm kind of okay with, but there's these like brand maxis that I'm just like, dude, I get it, but like, do you want to make money or do you want to be on brand?
Yeah.
And it's your brand and it's your money. So I will defer to you, but that's the dichotomy. Like, don't try and in front and like this, that, and the other. Oh, well, I just want to have a better brand. Like, the whole point of the brand is it's the way I think of brand, and I'd love to get your take as well, is it's essentially just an aggregation of all the customer touch points. Like every time you interact with the brand, whether that be in person, whether that be online, whether that be in a print card, that to me is a brand. But there's no reason to have brand if you're never going to leverage that to monetize or actually drive.
Yeah.
Like, who cares if you have this great brand if you're not making any money?
No, it's just, and I think one thing like with MaryRuth's too, that we've had to be okay with, and it's probably kind of stifled a lot of people, is that, and MaryRuth herself is amazing. She's like so inspiring and like just wants to see, you know, us succeed more than the brand. And so that gives us the freedom to kind of go out and like create these crazy ideas.
Yes.
And it's a lot of times not on brand.
Right.
Like it may not follow the brand book. You know, the content team might look at us and be like,
100%.
What is this? But I'm like, but this is what's working. And I think that's like where you have to have, again, it's this kind of release. I think you have to, if you want to succeed, you have to release those grips you have on everything that you're holding on to that you feel like is the foundation, because it's not going anywhere. You might just be pushing the box a little bit in certain directions. Like what we do on TikTok, that probably doesn't feel like MaryRuth's.
Right.
It probably doesn't feel like that. A lot of people probably have said that in our comments too. You know, loyalists, brand loyalists, people who buy. But but we're also have never seen the numbers we've seen from it. So it's like, okay, the risk reward. It's like, what's the risk? Okay, you might be pushing your brand guidelines a little bit, but when they land on the site, when they see our CTV, when they see everything else we're ever doing, that's okay. You know, 100%. And like you said, like it's an aggregate of everything. You know, I think you have to be okay with that, and it's hard, man.
It's a hard sell, and those are the clients I run away from really quickly because you're just always going to be uphill. Like there's a great line that I'll always use when you kind of get into these, I don't want to say combative exchanges, but you're just like, these first principles are not aligning. And it's like, I'll just tell the brand owner, it's like, do you want to be right or do you want to make money?
Yeah.
And it's, again, your brand, your ship, you get the drive. I'm, helping you out. You're paying me money. But then at the same time, then I'll kind of move into like, that's what the money's for. Like, you're not an expert. If you were an expert, you wouldn't have hired me.
Exactly. I wouldn't be here right now.
The reason I'm giving you this advice is because it is the best thing to do for your brand to drive forward the business goals that you put down for me.
Yeah,
so like,
and that's where you
can't have it both ways.
When your agency side, it's really hard. Because,
that's very hard.
Because then again, you're dealing with the 20,000 personalities, and that's like, it's challenging, it's fun, it's rewarding. When it works, it is the most rewarding. Because I think you realize how hard it is, and everyone around you, your colleagues, your friends, your network, they realize how hard it is too.
100%.
And like that's where it's like those wins. And I think that's what I really loved about the last agency I was at, was that we really celebrated wins, and like that was something that just kept morale high. It kept people on their toes and hungry for more, and that was one thing I really tried to instill with my team. And whether you're a media buyer for an agency, whether you're a media buyer for a brand, or maybe you're just running your own thing, like I think you have to be hungry, because that is the only way that you're able to then sell those brand owners on why. Because I mean, it's so easy. I mean, God, you and I probably know a million people who it's like, you talk the talk really well, but when it comes down to business, it's
I think that's where a lot of agencies get a little bit of a bad rap sometimes, and
definitely.
Sometimes it's deservedly so, where there is.
Yep.
The agency grew out of this one brainchild where there's this one guy or gal that's just like phenomenally talented, incredibly well spoken, super charismatic. You meet that person and you're like, dude, I'm signing Wyatt.
No brainer. Yeah.
And then you'll never see them again through the rest of the contract. And it's just like, they just have like
the junior level of the talent.
People running SOPs that were written 2 years ago or whatever. And that's, I think, the challenge with marketing is there's probably some like cosmic fundamentals that don't change, but there's so few. And to your point, like if you're not poking and prodding these areas, you're missing out on growth opportunities.
For sure. If you're not pushing the box and you're not trying to expand, I mean, there were things that we did in January for MaryRuth's, things that for one, that had never been done for that brand on TikTok, but things that like, I think in theory, we all thought, okay, let's try this creative. Like, this is a crazy angle. We've never seen this work for this brand. Let's see what happens. Yeah. And that's what we literally created, because our spend levels were so high. We created this artificial virality. The product went viral. Like whether you want to argue about that or not, it went viral. It had 15 million views attached to this like viral multivitamin that went viral. People were like, all these Gen Zers, whether it was baby boomers, Gen Zers, like millennial moms, like everyone was talking about it. And it was from an angle that none of us really thought was a UVP of the product.
Right.
It's like, and like, that's where, again, pushing the box, pushing the limits, you can click. And then I think also you can find things that don't work, and that's almost more valuable,
Same with me, man. I totally agree with you there. Like, so for us with Triple, which is a little different, obviously, with B2B SaaS compared to D2C. But that's kind of where we would play around with, where I would carve out, when I was still CMO, 5 to 10% every quarter, just for some random moonshot marketing event where it's like, if it hits, we go to the moon.
Yeah.
If it misses, I know that I'm only missing out on, $5,000-$10,000 or what have you.
You got your
like,
bowling lane bumper guards up a little bit. It's just like, okay, just stay right here.
And those are the bets I like to make, is kind of cap downside, unlimited upside.
Yeah.
So like I know, hey, I'm going to spend $5,000 or $10,000 on this campaign. Worst case scenario, it blows up. To your point, I take learnings from that to then integrate into future campaigns. So it's not necessarily a loss, but it's almost in the same vein of like creative testing spend, where it's like there's nothing this creative spend is supposed to do other than give me insights. Like it's not there to actually make me money.
No,
it's
not,
there to inform my creative to then I can shift these super ads into the actual performance spend.
Exactly.
And so that's kind of how I think of it. But I think you're right. And I think there's I think the brands that are getting more away from this just super, again, outside of luxury, just being super pigeonholed and handcuffed by their brand guidelines, it just seems a little archaic. And I'm not saying that you need to have this like super disjointed experience. Like there needs to be some cohesion in branding,
for sure,
but like being able to take some chances, I think it's such a superpower.
These guys are a great example. Where you start with where they were 5 years ago, it's like they've created this brain that has just grown, and like they're just like, what new weird thing can we do? Like that is where like marketers like us, we see it and we're like, that's genius, dude. And that's what brands like. Sometimes you meet a brand who wants that, but they don't know how to do that, and you explain it and like, well, I can't do that. It's like, wait. Okay, then you can't get there.
Your self-limiting beliefs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, that's and it's kind of interesting too, because it almost is full circle for me now. Instead of the band, it's almost like the product / brand.
Yep.
And that like that's what you're building, and it's almost the same playbook that you're running for your musical acts.
Yeah, it is, and that's like for me, like
so interesting.
That's the nice thing. Is like, okay, I've been able to build this career. I love doing what I do. It's. My family's happy. My wife works from home. I work from home.
Yeah.
Like we travel. We're great. But then the other thing now is there's a lot of less pressure for me, like just to be able, I can go create, and that's my creative outlet, but I also love the marketing side of it. Like I love to just sit there and make, product hero videos for the website, and like to work on like our actual PDPs, and like to, like I use like kind of like my last 8 years of career to fuel my passion, and vice versa too as well. But it feels like, okay, there's a lot, like the pressure load is down because I now know where I'm focused, and that's really something that a lot of people probably can't say. And I'm very grateful like that. I'm think about that a lot.
Dude, focus is a superpower. It really is. And being able to do that you can't get time back, but you can get more time out of your time, if that makes any sense at all.
I get you. Yeah.
Like,
no, and I think like that's one thing too. I mean, it's when you become a dad, when you're like, you got a lot of
that's a big one, right?
That's another thing. It's like, okay, then
time is not yours anymore.
No, it's not. And like you split this finite window of time, you split it 20 different ways, and it becomes very hard. So I think prioritization is a big part of focus. And like for me, it's like, I think just bite-sized pieces. That's really how I approach everything in like bite-sized pieces. Okay, just do this, then that, and that. As opposed to looking at, big visions of like, okay, I want to hit this. No, it's like, okay. And then you have to reverse engineer it. It's like, let's just start taking the steps. We'll find the path as we go.
Retention.com is not only just sponsoring You're Not Your ROAS. Retention.com is here to help you make more monies from your email campaigns. They're an amazing resource for marketers, and you can see all their podcasts and resources right on their site, including the 5 fundamental flows you need to grow. Go check it out at retention.com or in the link below. Now back to the show.
Dude, man, I couldn't be more on board. When you go after those like big, hairy, audacious goals, it's just demoralizing because it's like a huge burrito. Like you don't know how to attack it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Do I go
sure.
down the middle? Do I go on this end? Do I go on that end? How do I unwrap it? Like it just gets into a place where I'm much more kind of where you're talking about of like, hey, okay, cool. Here's what the board or the brand or my boss or whatever his goals are. Are these realistic? Is this a stretch goal? Do I need to have kind of 3 layers of this goal, like a stretch? If we do well, if we don't do well, kind of thing. And then from that, to your point, like, how do we get there? Because that's the fastest way that I've seen to help because you do kind of want some pie in the sky people in the company, especially like the CEO or the founder. You kind of want them to be a little crazy. Like, I love AJ, but he's crazy. He's trying. He's a mad scientist.
Yeah.
He just builds, and it's amazing. But then you have to figure out like, okay, cool. You want to hit, like you said, that $7 or $1 million month, 7-figure month, or whatever. Okay, what does that look like? Like, how would I get there, and what needs to move to do that? Because that's to your point of like, everybody wants to have these like lagging goals, but they're just that, they're lagging. And so what are the things that you can actually control and work on? What are the leading indicators that can support that goal? Because if not, to your point, not only will you lose focus, you end up in this disjointed strategy because everybody's trying to attack the apple versus like, why don't we put an army together to then take the castle to get the apple?
Exactly. And I think what ends up happening is that most people don't actually end up taking any action. You sit there
paralysis analysis.
It's like you sit there and you look at, how do I get to Jerusalem? And then you don't actually end up moving.
100%.
And it's like, you just got to start moving.
Yes.
You can pivot along the way.
Yes.
But just start taking steps. Like, I think that was one thing that was like, I could sit here and like, I think one of the things that we came in, like Sean, Frank, and the guys at Ridge are good friends of ours.
He's
like,
brilliant, man. He's probably the best operator I know. Like,
he just I think one of the things that's so strong, like I very much, like they gave us a lot of insight into some of their creative strategy and stuff when I first joined MaryRuth's, and I was like, I was just like, note taking. I was like, this is amazing, you know?
He gets it.
He's like, dude, you just need to like spend like $500K a day on Facebook. And I'm like, okay, that's okay. Let's get there. But I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to start here.
Yes.
I'm going to start here because this is where we're at. I'm not going to get lost in thinking of where we could be 6 months from now, because when in 6 months from now, we'll be somewhere else. And literally here I sit today. And now we're at a completely different, the way that I think about now where we're going, I wouldn't have been able to think about where I was 6 months ago. So thinking about the goal like that is almost like, over the course of a year, I mean, how much in our life changes anyway?
Think of COVID, right?
Exactly.
Like who would have? That's why I'm not.
Who knows
huge,
what's in a?
I'm not huge on anything. Depending on, I guess I should caveat like the business vertical. So like, if it's really intricate software or something with a lot of dependencies or a physical thing that needs to be made, then I think you can get into multi-year roadmaps. But for the most part, people that aren't in those verticals, man, I'm a big year planner. I think if you plan outside of a year, you're taking so much risk, or not risk, but I think it's arrogant of you to think that you can understand past a year horizon
and where you're going to be. I mean, like for
where
me,
the
it's
business
like,
is, where the society is,
totally.
where the macroeconomics are. Like, that's another thing that people don't understand. Again, that's why I'm so bullish on luxury. You guys are actually in a pretty robust vertical, to be fair. But you know, if things start tightening up and stuff like that, like, there's just literally less money being spent. And so it's like, you really have to, like, these things matter.
They do. And I think that's, to be frank, like, we're very lucky to be growing at the rate we are.
If you're growing at all this year, you're killing it, in my opinion. Like, there's a lot of headwinds.
You know, Shopify, ironically, has always been a small part of MaryRuth's business, like as the brand. Amazon's been like 60% of sales.
Really?
Amazon crushed, yeah. So my boss at VP of Ecom, he oversees all of our supply chain, our ecom, our organics, like all of it. And he started the Amazon side of it years ago, and like that's where it became really successful. And so now we're like at this point where we're now trying to get Shopify up there.
Yeah.
And like that was one thing when I started working with Dribble. It was like, okay, well, let's see how we can do both. And I think it was at the time you guys were working on the Amazon integration. You know, like for us now, like that's, so like 60%, you know, it's Amazon number 1, Shopify number 2, and then like retail's number 3, you know, and like that's a big part of our business. But for e-com specifically, like Shopify, we did our first $10 million a month, like in January, which like so I have a buddy of mine that's at like Hexclad and
Jason?
Well, my buddy of mine's working with Connor.
His
name's London, and Connor and London are good friends, and I was egging him on. I was like, go to Hexclad, man. Go to. He's also agency side. I was like, gotta go, man. And he's over there now with those guys. And like,
Jason's a killer.
They're brilliant, man. They're doing great. And that great product. He sent me the product. I'm like, I fucking love those pans, man. Dude, they're amazing. Love them.
I'm probably gonna end up dropping a K on them because they're just.
Well, that's the thing. It's like those 13-piece kits are like $800. So
it's awesome price point. But there's also an aspect of like, going back to what you were talking about at the top of the show, he's built, like, I don't even cook, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so it's like, why would I spend a K on fucking pots and pans? But he's done such a good job of, if you do want to cook and you are price insensitive, dude, Dude's the best in the business.
Yeah.
Like there was this crazy thread that he posted. I don't know if it was organic or not. I'm pretty sure it was organic, but some kind of like cook guy ended up just writing this huge diatribe of why Hexcloud was the best pan he's ever. And it went really into nerdy, like the literal like materials being used. The science behind why, like when you use a skillet, this is what happens. When you use this, what happens. But
For sure.
The kind of coalescing of the technologies into the Hexcloud, I think he's nailed it, man. He's
and they have something,
and they're doing numbers too. Like he's
lots of things. Like that's when I told them, it's like that's what we're doing on Shopify. It's like, oh, okay, well, like that's kind of what we know. I'm like, well, that's the thing for us. Like now we're trying to get Shopify up to where Amazon is, if we ever can. Like that's an uphill battle, but yeah, one thing is with like Hexcloud too. I feel like for them, they have something that no one else has, which is Gordon Ramsay. I mean, I wish we all had a Gordon attached to the brand. Dude,
it matters.
Yeah, I'm like, and he was telling me, he's like, because we have like our own little e-commerce like mastermind, like me and a bunch of friends of mine and former colleagues from guys that were on my team before in agency space that are on that brand side, and we talk, and we're talking about like, okay, Spark Ad versus whitelisting, versus doing our just the true brand and seeing what happens, and like he said, he's like, every time we launch a whitelisted Gordon ad on Instagram, it crushes. And like, we're never going to beat that with any influencer. We're never going to beat that. And I'm like, that is the ace up your sleeve that brands would kill for.
Dude, I at my previous agency life, I got to work with Oprah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And
so,
like,
same thing.
The bump is real, dude.
Yeah.
Like I probably with Gordon, it's in the same ballpark as Oprah, especially in that niche because he's so heavily
in the niche specifically. Yeah,
but dude, Oprah,
but Oprah transcends.
She transcends everything.
Like she's just Oprah.
It was crazy because I'm not super bullish on celebs unless you're in that kind of like Gordon where you it's gonna net out. But then there's also like you got to make sure that the unit economics and the sauce that I'm giving up because these people aren't doing it free. If you can get them on like a rev share or something, that's the path. It's like, dude, I'll just give you 20% of whatever comes through your funnel and let's make you some money.
Well, that's with our influencer strategy too. I think our influencer director would agree with me when she said like, we don't try to work with the celebrity angle because the cost very rarely, like the ROI on that is very rarely break even.
Yeah,
because you're going to spend $150,000 on a celebrity.
So that's the challenge too that I've found in those kind of, again, I don't want to call them like mid-tier celebrities, but like you're talking about like that 100 to 250K where it's like not nothing, but it's not Gordon Ramsay or Oprah or something like that. If you miss, that's a big matzo ball hanging out there.
It's like that's the problem.
And so I'm much more in the vein of like, if you give me 250K, I want to make 10 to 20 small bets and then figure out which ones have like signs of like higher ceilings, and then
let's just scale it.
Because you end up getting caught up with putting like good money behind bad, where it's like, oh well, it was just the actual ad. Rob was a great influencer. Give him another 50K and let's do it again. And you're like, no, dude, like nothing wrong with Rob, but like the people didn't resonate with him. He's not moving the needle. Quit putting money behind this, like good money behind bad.
I think that's what happened to us in January. We saw someone, like we had a couple people that posted organically that were our like influencer partners. Like again, influencers, such like I like everyone has their own definition of the term. For us, it was people who we had contract to agree with for posting X amount of times per month. But these weren't even influencers. They were brand ambassadors, people who sign up for our brand ambassador program that are kind of in the middle. So they're not like content creators over here, which never see, they don't, they don't share on their own really, but then they have the influencers and they're kind of in the middle. And we had a brand ambassador post who went viral on her own. She had like 3 million views.
Let's go.
And then we took that in our paid strategy from 3 to 50. And like, that's all on the back of a brand ambassador who joined the ambassador program, maybe paid $100 for a piece of video once and twice, And that was amazing. An example that we could have dished out. We have a lot of influencers who are in the 1 million, 2 million followers that we could talk to, but they were like, oh, I want 20K or I want 50K for that. And we wouldn't have probably had that kind of success, And so I think the small bet angle is like, to be honest, I think it gives you more horizontal room to play with, because then you can, like you said, you can kind of pick, you can pull, and then you can scale, and then you really have an understanding of what works, as opposed to going all in and then just crossing your fingers and hoping this celebrity, your force not gonna be like, why did you just dish out 200K to make 200K?
I mean, Adidas just totally flopped with Ivy Park with Beyonce, and she's like the Beyonce's Oprah status.
Yeah, it's like,
to your point, like an article in front of her name, like the Beyonce,
exactly.
the Oprah, like and totally flopped. What was that other massive TikToker? She did her little beauty brand. I forget what her name was. But
Kylie Jenner?
Not Kylie. They didn't do horror, or maybe it was Kylie. I
don't remember.
One of them, but there was just this mismatch between attention and intention, where it's like these people had a ton of attention, but like nobody would show up in a room if they invited 1,000 people, and that's really what matters. Is like, can you not only get
for that strategy? That's what matters.
You need to push conversions. Like, I don't need brand awareness. I need people. If I'm going to pay you this much money, there has to the cash register got to ring.
Yesterday I told you I was meeting with our senior leadership team at Meta and TikTok here in Austin, and it was same stuff. It's like, okay, you really want you to push, full funnel brand aware. I'm like, I'm not going to. I'm not going to.
Traffic campaign.
Yeah, traffic
campaigns. Get in there.
It's like my intermediate buyer, and they was just sitting there like kind of laughing, and I was like, they're great. Don't get me wrong. We have great partners at those platforms. We spend a lot of money with them. They give us a lot of perks, but
good people. But
they're great. But they're like top down initiative to push video view campaigns. And
so interesting, right?
Yeah, it is, and I think that's what it's always like, I'm not like, you don't have to sell me. I'm not spending less. If anything, we're going to spend more.
Right.
And like that's, and it's like, so you don't have to sell me on this, but like, I understand the difference between a traffic campaign and a conversions campaign. Like, I know I've been doing this a long enough time. And like, years ago, I got into the data side of it more, and I wanted to really, I was involved for a little bit with building a potential competitor of Triple Whales years ago that never came to fruition. And like, I got to see the backside of things a lot more clearly. And I think at the time then I realized I'm not adding up with what they're telling me I should be doing. Then it's like this breakthrough. It's like, oh, these platforms just want to take my money and waste it in other places. I can do this a little bit differently and make a lot of money. 2018, 2019. And then it's like, okay, then 2020, everything just was lifted. So, but I think that's you said it earlier too. It's like people who get stuck on SOPs from 2 years ago. It's like, it's the things I do today. If I would have told myself 4 years ago, Wyatt would have been like, well, why aren't you split testing, demographics, and why aren't you running, video, your own lookalikes in their own campaigns versus an interest campaign? I'm like, that kind of crazy, I feel like as a friend of mine, is a former CMO at Shopanova, and we talk regularly, and he's like, I feel like there's marketers out there who love to sell the complexity.
100%.
Because if they found out how really kind of easy it is of what we're doing.
Seen it.
Yeah.
100% seen it. That's the number one red flag for me when I look into things, and I'm like, this is just overly complex. So the brand owner, there's no incentive here. It's just so the brand owner
just locking in your salary with them.
Like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, keep running 78 campaigns. That's fantastic.
That's what our what was happening on Google for MaryRuth's.
Yeah,
that's it was the guy who was running it was like wanted to like only, he didn't trust the platform.
Yep.
And I was like, this is doing more harm than good.
100%.
Now we're running 7 campaigns. Yep. And like, that's it. And that's probably still too much.
Yeah. That's the other thing too. The complexity for complexity's sake's never the path.
No.
I'm with you there. Dude, this has been amazing.
It has.
You want to do some rapid fire?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. YouTube, overrated, underrated?
Underrated.
Yep. TikTok, overrated, underrated?
I'm going to say overrated.
Ooh,
I'm going to give a
hot take.
Yeah. I'm going to go hot take. We can explain it later, but.
Okay. Amazing.
It's coming from the one who's spending
the most on TikTok.
Spending like $60,000 a day on TikTok right now.
What's your favorite guitar?
Gretsch. Gretsch White Falcon. That's my baby.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm not
Those get aggressive though, right? Like, you can get kind of.
Yeah, no, I'm not a Gibson guy. I have a couple Fenders. I have a couple Tellys, but a Gretsch, like that's, when he knows my music, that's like the look.
That's what it is. Yeah. What's your favorite place to travel to and why?
I think what was the most unique for me was London.
Oh yeah.
London's amazing.
Yeah.
It was a short trip. I spoke at an event out there in London, and that was really amazing. And like, it just was so, it's so funny when you go to an English-speaking country that is also so different.
Yeah.
Like, wow, it was crazy. As a football fan, like I'm like, it was cool to like go to Stamford Bridge and like, see the Etihad, or not the Etihad, but the Emirates where Arsenal plays and stuff.
Amazing.
Very cool. So, yeah. So London for sure.
I love that. Oh, favorite food. Geez, I'm spacing. What Judy?
Favorite food.
Favorite food and why?
Mexican food. It's because it's where I grew up, man. Like Southern California, San Diego, man.
Get it done.
Like, my mom's side. My grandfather was a well-known Latin jazz musician, and My grandmother, my dad's side was from the Dominican Republic, so like Spanish food, Mexican food.
Music runs deep in the family.
Yeah, it does, man. Yeah.
I love that. There's something to music too, man. I've been trying to, ever since moving into this new role, I don't have like the heavy as the head that wears the crown kind of stuff, where it's just like, it was just proliferating my life, and I just forgot how much music really just adds just another layer of awesomeness to life. And
really does. And I think that's like why for me it's the biggest creative outlet. And there's times where I'm like, I don't pick up the guitar for, days, and I'm like, and I'm like all up here and I'm stressed. Family's feeling it, like everything is like, tense, and I'm like, okay, it's really because I'm not balancing the work and the creative side of it very well, and the work is creative, don't get me wrong, but there's like the non-work attachment creative you need as well.
No, I love that. Your favorite axeman or gal? Who's your favorite guitarist?
Yeah, that's...
there's a Stevie Ray Vaughan statue, right?
Oh, I know. Yeah. I've been there. Every time I come out, I take a photo with it. I mean, Stevie, SRV is like up there. For me, I think it's got to be Brian Setzer, though. Stray Cats, because like that's like for me, like when I first of all, like Setzer for one is an amazing musician. The Stray Cats were an amazing band, like that rockabilly sound is like where my ear goes. But I think also what's so unique about him is he basically built two careers. I mean, he had the Stray Cats in the 80s and 90s, and then he built the orchestra, the big band, that like that, and like such an amazingly talented guitar player.
Yeah.
And basically without him, Gretsch probably would have folded in the 60s, or not the 60s, in the 80s at the time. So he brought back those 50s guitars that like the original Cats, like Chet Atkins, were playing and stuff. So yeah, Setzer I think is like, I hate when people ask me that because it's such a hard answer. But
super hard question.
Yeah, but I think that's fair though.
In the top tiers, it's you start to get into preferential more than actual objective, where it's like,
it's super subjective. It's like, and it also depends on like the day and like the week. It's like, what am I in right now? It's like there's some days where I'm like I've only listened to Ghost and I listen to Metallica, I listen to Megadeth, and I'm like hardcore in my metal mode. And there's some weeks where I'm like
crazy Mastodon shirt at home.
Yeah, I love Mastodon, man. The other night actually we were at home and like we have a Sonos soundbar, so I cast from my phone, and like we were cooking dinner, girls were dancing, and I blasted Mastodon, and my wife was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, and like the girls were like sitting there looking at me, and I'm like, come on, let's do it. And I'm like, all right.
Not tonight, Dad.
My girls aren't into Mastodon yet.
Yeah, still holding out.
Yeah.
Now I also think it's crazy too so I'm a huge Prince fan.
Yeah.
Also
same.
phenomenal guitarist, but just overall incredible just musician.
Yep. Entertainer. Just the best. Yeah.
The other thing too was John Mayer.
Yeah.
Like I grew up with John Mayer as the pop.
Yeah.
Like kind of like the pop heartthrob stuff.
The waiting on the world to change.
He didn't realize it's got like technically absolute shredder. Like he composes as well, but
indirectly seen John Mayer like 8 times. Every time he's brilliant.
It's incredible.
Yeah, he's an amazing guitar player.
I was blown away by that because I thought it was more in that like, how are you talking, where you get this like star, and then that star is like insulated with all these like technically talented people. That then the star becomes almost like the performer.
Yeah, definitely.
I was blown away how talented he was.
Yeah, he was
touring for a little while, right, with the Grateful Dead people.
Yeah. Now that you said it, of course it's gone now. What's his name? The guy lead singer from the Grateful Dead. Yeah. It's Dead & Co.
Dead & Co.
Yeah, that's the name of the group. Yeah. So yeah, he's filling in the Jerry Garcia role. I mean, that's it's like, and he's a very talented player for sure. He's I think one thing that's like about John Mayer you don't see probably on the front side is like how like different styles he is, but like he can like he's like his. It's like there's a big festival called the Crossroads Blues Festival, and like Eric Clapton has put it on for years. They haven't done it in like 15 years. Just announced they're going to do it, and John Mayer's doing that John Mayer Trio, which if anyone has listened to that, it's Pino Palladino on bass and Steve Jordan on drums, 2 of the best like session players and like guys. I mean,
so good.
It is so they're so good. They're so tight, and they're like just like it feels like Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble. Like, it feels like that. And I think it was Clapton or someone who said like John Mayer is like one of the technically most gifted guitar players of the 21st century.
Clapton was freaked out by pretty sure it was Prince or Hendrix. I can't remember. He was really, I think it was actually Hendrix. He was really, really intimidated by him. It was really funny.
That doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
He was a weirdo.
I love, that's
also another disconnect. I grew up with Eric Clapton with the elevator music.
Yeah.
And I did not realize he was this rage your dick off. Like, and I was like, he has a song literally called Cocaine.
Yeah.
Like, he used to just rock star rage.
Yeah. And I think that was all after, when he had his kid passed, and then he had like the Tears in Heaven and stuff. But yeah, it was like there was that like 90s 2000s Clapton where it was like the elevator music.
That's all I knew. Lady in Red and shit.
Yeah, but then you realize then you go back and you listen to like the Byrds and stuff, and you listen to early Cream. Like, dude, that
strong.
That Cream, that Wheels of Fortune album. Love that is incredible. That's like that and like early Black Sabbath. Like I remember hearing Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath for the first time, and I was like, "It's like,
crazy, right?"
This? Yeah. One thing I love about Ghost is that Tobias Forge, the front man, he talks a lot about like early Sabbath influences, and like on the last record they did, there was this song called "Watcher in the Sky," and it's just this heavy guitar intro, and like the first time I heard it, I got chills because I thought, this is Randy Rhoads. Like, this is Randy Rhoads. Like, if I swear, if I didn't know it was Ghost, I would have thought that was Randy Rhoads playing, like, reincarnated. And I was like, that's the kind of stuff today where it's super exciting. Because, like, you find bands, they're like, oh, this reminds me of that, from years ago. And that's why, I want people to feel like, oh, this takes me back to, like, a memory I had when I was a kid and I first heard Zeppelin for the first time with my dad or my mom, and it's like,
get that memory burn.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah.
Okay, let's wrap up on the last question. So you get to invite 3 people to dinner. 4-person dinner. You're sitting at the head. They can be dead or alive, fictional or non-fictional. Who's getting the invite from Wyatt? 3 invites.
I would invite.
It's a tough one.
This is a really tough one because I'm thinking music.
I know. I just got you down this music.
Well,
tangent,
and that's what I'm thinking. Like, I really feel like I would love to sit there with Stevie Ray Vaughan. To be honest, I feel like SRV has like the stories like in that, and like I would love to hear what that would be. So I feel like that'd be my music guy. In terms of like a world figure, I would love to sit with Gandhi. Like Gandhi, like that. I would love to hear like and like feel inspired and peace like, after listening to Gandhi. And so Gandhi, and then like sports for me. Like I'm a huge sit with Gretzky. Yeah, I have Gretzky sitting there.
I love Gretzky.
I'm still in California, so I'm a diehard Kings fan. So I'm watching the Kings.
Incredible, right?
Go against the Oilers, which is ironic because Gretzky fan as well. But yeah, so Gretzky, I leave at 3.
Yeah, Gretzky.
That's like a random 3.
It's amazing.
But like those are the 3 that came to mind. Yeah, Gretzky, Gandhi, and Stevie Ray Vaughan.
That's a fun dinner, man.
That is a fun dinner.
It's a fun dinner. Because Gretzky seems like just what a fun guy.
Yeah, and I think he's actually kind of soft spoken in a lot of ways.
Super soft spoken.
But I feel like I would just love to hear. I mean, man, like the 70s, 80s, 90s hockey, like that was,
It was real, man, and then kind of not selling out, but
I mean,
getting paid.
He did. No,
it's not on him.
Hey,
but like, hey,
and
go
as a
get
Kings
your
fan
money,
myself, like, I mean, I remember, like, I was a little kid, but like when he came to LA, it was like he sold out. I mean, he did. He took the paycheck. Yeah, and
dude, that's crazy.
But also, Edmonton was stupid enough to let him go.
That's where I land. Where it was just like, dude, either you guys didn't have the resources, or you just missed.
Well, this is what's happening right now with like everyone's talking about Kylian Mbappe. It's like, okay, is PSG going to sell him? And it's like, well, they want like what is it? I think they said they want $400 million or something for him. Like, and it's like,
kid's a super talent though.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, he's unreal, and he's what, 23, 24. Yeah,
just pay it. He's
gonna
win so many more World Cups.
Yeah,
he's
that. Like, I mean, Messi had to do what he had to do. Like, that was his year.
Yep.
But like, if it wasn't Messi, France would have won the World Cup last year.
100%. And it's weird too to see.
So someone's going to sell out. He's going to sell out at some point.
Yeah, well, they've kind of seen that now because Ronaldo's doing it. Like these people, instead of going to like the LA Galaxy or whatever and getting paychecks, they're not going to like these crazy Arabian like just oil money. Like, hey, there's nobody in this league but you.
Oil money. Yeah, no,
here's $1 bazillion.
I haven't thought about
games.
Ronaldo in months,
right?
Because he went to Al Nassr and
just like, dude, what are you doing over there?
Yeah,
Qatar. Checks.
Well, it's like when I loved when Zlatan came to
he's
LA.
The best. That dude's my
because he took out. Oh my god, I love Zlatan. He took out a full page ad in the LA Times and he said, "Dear LA, you're welcome." Zlatan, and I was like, that is amazing. That's so good.
He's my G.
And
I
then
love him.
In the first goal he scored was from like the middle of the pitch. The keeper was way out, and he just saw him off his mark.
Video game.
Yeah, video game.
He's so good, dude.
And he's like, and I love how he touts it. Like he's like, I'm Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Like,
he's the one guy that I can think of that like, unironically is like over the top arrogant.
I love it.
Yeah.
Like it plays for him.
It
like
does.
Most people would bother me when I'm like that. Like, dude, relax. It's not that serious.
But
like,
for him,
he just the heel that he plays is he just nails it, and I love him.
It's his height, it's the beard, it's the pony, it's everything. Yeah,
just
it's like
disregard
his whole
for
style.
Else.
Yeah, he just He's just
so
it's like it's about me. It's about me. It's about Zlatan. Yeah. So that was like the and then what's his name came last year to LAFC. What's Gareth Bale.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he came.
You're right.
He retired, but I don't think he did much.
He didn't do much.
No, I don't think he did.
But you're right.
Gareth Bale
he was okay in the World Cup. But you're right.
He was. Yeah, Wales.
Yeah.
I think the U.S. played Wales.
Yeah,
they did.
We got. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, I think we're gonna see. a lot more, especially in the football world. We're gonna see a lot more of those big. Like now, it's becoming a thing to spend $100 million on a player, you know?
And it's worth it.
Yeah.
Like
unless you're Chelsea, because right now Todd Bowley right now is. Chelsea.
There's some people,
yeah.
It's crazy to fall from grace, right, from the English games.
It is,
Chelsea, Liverpool,
yeah.
Arsenal's not horrible, but still not.
I think what's going to happen with Arsenal right now is they're slipping, like because they were 8 points clear of City, and then Liverpool drew, then they drew to Brighton or something or Southampton or something, and then now like City hasn't slowed down, and like as a Liverpool fan myself, I can't stand Manchester City. More than United. Like I have friends that are like diehard Scousers from Liverpool.
Yeah.
The United-Liverpool hatred has been long for a long time. For me, as a fan of since like 2000s, it's the City-Liverpool rivalry that I can't stand. The Erling Haaland,
City kind of came out of nowhere too, man. They got a bunch of
oil
money.
money.
So that
oil
it is.
money,
They got
man.
that big
They got
check.
that oil money. They sold out.
They
sold out. They lost. I mean, it's like, and that's like the thing. It's like with Liverpool, they're owned by FSG, which is this Fenway Sports Group, who owns the Red Sox. And I have a bunch of friends in Boston who are
I didn't know that.
Fucking FSG, man. They up the Red Sox, and I'm like, well, they're up Liverpool too, man. It's like So it's I think City will win the league. Arsenal finished second. United's got their new Eric Ten Hag, but Jurgen Klopp's my boy, man. Jurgen Klopp I will always stand by him. So yeah, he is.
All right, folks. You didn't know you were going to get into some sports talk radio, but we got it done for you. So now you know how to place all your bets on your favorite football/soccer matches.
Yep.
Wyatt, how can the people follow you? Where can they buy some of the best vitamins on the planet? This time's yours, my friend.
You can hit me up on Instagram at Wyatt Lowe. Check out the band if you want as well at the Mayhem Kings. I'm also on Twitter. I keep a lot of secrets to myself, but if you DM me, we can chat some more about it. And then, get MaryRuth's. You guys can get it on Amazon. We have Amazon Deal of the Days pretty regularly, and then go to MaryRuthOrganics.com, where I'd say probably the best deals are on our website, and make sure you go find an ad before you do that, before you buy.
Let's get some of that attribution.
Yeah, give me some of that attribution,
Come
please.
on,
Yeah.
push it up.
Anytime I got family, it's like, I want to buy some product. I'm like, okay, so here's an ad link.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Served impression.
That.
Yeah, 100%. Dude, this is great.
Yeah,
what
thanks for having me.
Crazy cool story you have.
Thank
that was
you.
awesome. This was really, really fun.
We'll do more.
Yeah, we'll do it again for sure. Folks, thank you for tuning in. We will sign off here in a second. What do I got? I got to plug Whale Mail. So we have a fantastic newsletter that goes out every Tuesday, Thursday called Whale Mail. You can subscribe right at triplewhale.com/whalemail. And then we have another sister podcast called Ad Spend, where myself, Ashwin Melwani, and another third guest comes on, and we just jam tactics. And then what else we got? Yeah, so subscribe to the show. So if you want to see us and see what sneakers I'm actually wearing, we drop all the videos on YouTube, so you can look at our beautiful faces, check out the sweet ghost shirt that Wyatt has on, and then I think that's it, my man. We did it.
I guess a plug for me to you would be,
let's go.
If you're not already, get Triple Whale, man.
Let's go. Get on the Whale app, people.
It is 100% been the reason we've been able to scale along with us.
Look at that. This is not paid. I did give him a liquid death though, but other than that, it's squared.
It's a free beanie.
Amazing. Dude, I really, really appreciate the kind words. All right, folks, you know what to do. Make sure to leave a review, and then if people want to win some free merch, what's a safe word? Give me a word, and then they can email or DM this to me, and I'll get some free merch.
Let's do Zlatan.
Zlatan. Oh,
Zlatan's the safe word.
I love it. Okay. So message me either on LinkedIn, Robert Ray Hill, or on the Twitters at Robert Ray Hill Zlatan, and you'll get some free whaleware. Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks,
this
Robert.
is amazing. You're the best. We'll do it again.
We will.